Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at this guy right here, Hold the Line, The American Revolution. It's put out by PSC Games and Worthington Publishing, and it is a re-implementation of Hold the Line from 2008. That was a one that utilized chits and that type of thing, cardboard tokens and so forth and so on the board. It is a, I guess you could say, almost a Memoir 44-ish kind of level game set in the American Revolutionary War. And my interest was piqued at the immediate onset of me having seen this, so I wanted to take a look at it. I was able to land a copy of it and its expansion for the French and Indian War at Essen. So let me get down to the table and I'll show you. So here I have set up for you the scenario called The Great Bridge from the scenario booklet, and as you can see, it gives you everything that you possibly need: the configuration of the map, all the different units that are used, any special rules that are necessary for the scenario, and then all of the different terrain tiles that are used for the scenario as well. Also gives you a brief historical background of the battle. This one specifically took place in the area that is now the city of Chesapeake, Virginia. So there's a lot of cool things about the scenario book, and as you can see, there are a number of different scenarios in here. So a great scenario booklet as far as I'm concerned. A lot of good things in here as well. So it starts off with Lexington and Concord, and it goes all the way to Yorktown. But in order to play Yorktown, you have to have the expansion, which I'll be getting to in another video. Now, the basic gist of what you can do on your turn in Hold the Line is move and or combat. More often than not, it's or combat. So what you can do on your turn is very simple, and usually it's simply governed by a number of different effects that are all on this player aid sheet that's here. First of all, your unit information is all up at the top, so that you know what your movement rate is for all of your different units. You know how many dice they're going to roll whenever they do get into combat, the range that they have for combat. Close combat, these are the numbers that you have to roll in order to hit on a six-sided die. Generally speaking, everything that you need to play the game from round to round, any information that you need to look up is right here in front of you on this player aid, and it's pretty handy too. It's a nice durable card stock, so it's a very good thing. This is one of the definite highlights of the game. Now, at the beginning of each turn, each scenario comes with a specific number of actions that each side has. For the Great Bridge scenario, each side is given 2 base actions per round, and then they're going to roll a die, a D3, to add bonus actions to that base. So for example, the Americans here, if they rolled a 3, that is actually 2 actions added to their base 2 actions. So they would actually have 4 action points to spend on their turn, and those action points can be spent to move or attack. Now, as far as move it is concerned, on your turn, for 1 action point, a regular infantry unit can move 1 hex. Dragoons can move 3 hexes, and then if they want to spend 2 action points, they can move 3 hexes and battle. So there's a number of different things here. Light infantry always moves 2 hexes for 1 action point, and so forth and so on. If a leader is joined to an infantry unit, he can pay an extra action point. If they are activated to move, then they will pay an action point and move 1, and he moves with them. And then if they want to, he can pay an extra action point and move them an additional space. So for 2 actions, this would be able to move here like that. Combat is very simple in Hold the Line, and it's going to be very simple to show you how it does it. So for example, a fire combat means that you're going to be initiating a fire order from 1 hex to another as long as they're in range. So basically this unit here could fire at this militia unit here, or this regular infantry unit led by a leader here as well. they would be able to do that because they have a clear line of sight. The river does not offer any blockage, and while a unit does offer blockage, so this unit cannot fire over on this unit, since there is a line of sight here, then it is okay, because they would follow from center of hex to center of hex along that line right there, and it isn't blocked by any blocking terrain or another unit. Now, had there been another unit here, then yes, their line of sight would be blocked, because we would have a unit here and a unit here which would be blocking the line of sight. But since this is open, we do have a clear line of sight from here to here. So generally speaking, a regular infantry unit is able to always roll 3 dice, and they have a range of 2 hexes. At 1 hex away, they are looking for 5s or 6s. At 2 hexes away, they're looking for just 6s. Now, there's an extra caveat here, that is, whenever a leader is present in a targeted hex, then any 1s rolled, then they have to roll a die to see if they're actually eliminated, if that bullet that was meant for an infantryman strays and hits them instead. So basically, they're going to have a fire order here, roll 3 dice, and any 1s that are rolled, first of all, we look for 6s. There are no 6s, so the infantry unit isn't going to take any losses. But we did have 1 rolled, so the British player then would have to take a die and roll. If he rolls a 1, then that unit, that leader, takes a hit, which brings us to the leader chips that are in the game as well. The first number here is how many dice are added to close combat for the infantry unit that he is with if he spends an extra action point to do that. The second number is basically his hit points, how many hits he can take before he is eliminated from the game. All right, so because he did not roll a 1, he's still around, no worries. Now, when 2 enemy units are adjacent to each other, the one can initiate a close combat with the expenditure of 2 action points. Then, if a leader is present, he can spend an additional action point to add whatever the first number is on his token there in dice to how many are rolled. So for this instance, for 3 action points, I can roll 5 dice against this British unit that has a leader in it as well. But since I'm initiating a close combat, this unit has to first roll a morale check. Now, morale is simply the number of models that are in their unit, for example, 4 here. But since there's a leader attached to the unit presently, he adds 1 to that. So I have to roll, well, rather the British player will have to roll a 5 or less, but he rolled a 6. So he will be retreating at the end of this close combat round, no matter if I score hits or not. All right, so the 3 action points are spent. I take my 5 dice, and I'm looking for 4 5s or 6s first. So here, I only got 1 hit. So 1 model is going to be removed from that unit. Okay? But since I also rolled a 1 here, and there is a leader present, he has to roll a number of dice equal to the number of 1s rolled to see if he's going to be taken out during the combat. Now, that's different from the shooting. Remember, he only has to roll 1 during the shooting one, no matter how many 1s are rolled. But this one, the number of 1s rolled is taken into effect. So we only rolled 1, so only 1 die has to be rolled by the British player to see if he takes a hit, and he does not. So in this instance, because they failed the morale check at the offset, these people would have to retreat back to their side of the table. And these guys could take ground if they want to, but we're going to hold off doing that just for right now, because that's kind of stepping into the jaws of death, really. But that, in a nutshell, is how you conduct combat from turn to turn. It's not difficult at all. It's very simple, and I think it aids the flow of the game tremendously. So that is Hold the Line, the American Revolution. Now, I have to be honest with you. When I stopped by PSC Games booth at Essen, this wasn't even on my radar. I had no clue even to look at it. I was there to pick up some expansions for the Great War, the tanks expansions, and so forth and so on. And they said, well, hey, while you're here, take a look at this. From the very beginning, first of all, I'm a fan of this era. The colonial area is, I used to live in Virginia, and so I've been able to travel to a lot of the different battlefields, spend a lot of time at Colonial Williamsburg as a kid. My dad took us there probably once every 2 years, and sometimes even more frequent than that. So this is something that's really close to my heart as far as having lived in that area and experienced a lot of the different kinds of reenactments and those kinds of things that come with living in a colonial history-rich area. So this was right down my alley as far as my interest level was concerned. So I took a look at it, and I have to say I am very pleased with this. It doesn't have some of the quote-unquote trappings that a game like Memoir 44 has, where cards. If you don't have a card for that portion of the field, you can't order those units in that part of the field unless you have some other kind of special card that allows you to do that. Furthermore, you're not limited by what units you can order, because there are no cards. There are no divisions of the field. So it is more of a strategically, I guess you could say, pure game. There is still a lot of dice rolling as far as bonus point activation, as far as, finding out how many more bonus points you're going to get, that is, rolling to see if you hit or not. So there is that level of chaos and random that's still there because of the dice, but there isn't the extra layer of cards, which from my discussions with people over the years, that's really usually their main point of concern with Memoir 44, is that they don't have the cards for the field of battle that they need to push the attack in. So with that having been said, I think that this is, on that one facet, I think this is a little bit of a step forward from Memoir 44. However, I can't say that this is better overall than Memoir 44. I'm just saying in that one little respect, for those people who have a issue with that part of Memoir 44, this might be a good answer to that. Now, having said all of that, how it feels, and I know that's a very nebulous concept, but how it feels as you're playing the game is very similar to what you would find with Memoir 44 or Battle Cry or Command of Colors Ancients or so forth and so on. The level of complexity that it offers is very similar, and that's probably a more accurate statement than what I just said. It is different than the Command of Colors system, but the complexity level hasn't risen, and that's an important thing for me, because my wife likes games that are very simple. She actually likes these kinds of games as long as they're not too convoluted and difficult and complex and having to look up this chart over here and that chart over there. You don't have to do this. It's all on the player aid, and it's all right in front of you every single time of the game. And furthermore, there isn't so much information that you can't be memorized with only just a few plays. So with all that being said, I think that this is a great game as far as gameplay is concerned. Now, component quality, I did show you the models. The miniatures are decent. They're probably along the lines of a Memoir 44 as far as how good they are. You don't have to put them together. They're all single mold models. However, as you may have seen, the leaders have this little, almost like a rocking horse effect going on its base, where they are bowing, and so you can, they look like a rocking horse if you move the table or something like that. They start rocking back and forth. But again, that's something that can probably easily be fixed with a little bit of warm water, maybe even just a blow dryer or something to that effect. Bend it back into shape, let it cool. But the component quality as far as the board is concerned, the board is very drab. It's that yellow, sunburnt grass look. And furthermore, the graphics on the text, on the hexes themselves is not very good. Now, this is one of the larger ones, and this is cool that they're double-sided, like this is like a fort type escarpment, entrenchment, or what have you, swamps on the other side with a path through them. So, I mean, the actual hex tiles themselves, they're good, but the artwork on them is somewhat elementary and probably could have done a lot better. All together, though, when you put it all together, it looks decent. It looks like it's an ancient map of a battlefield type thing where the the different flags are popping up and all that kind of thing. So I like the way it looks on the table, but individually, if you piecemeal out all of the different components, I wasn't really impressed. But they work together well. Now, the flags. Ugh, the flags. I haven't had to sticker flags like this since Battlecry, my original copy of Battlecry, way back when. I know probably, it hasn't yet, I know probably though that the adhesive is going to wear out and they're going to start slipping around on the pole, and I'm not going to be able to keep them on the pole. Eventually they're just going to start falling off. So adhesives probably wasn't the best way to go for this, although I guess it was a less expensive way to go for it, so I can understand that. However, I'm not too happy about it. But again, the way it looks on the field, with the different flags popping up, you know where all of your regular units are, you know where the militia units are, and so forth and so on. I get that, and I like how it looks. So I'm really happy with Hold the Line, the American Revolution, even though some of the components left me desiring a little bit more. Overall, the general package, the total package, so to speak, is one of enjoyment and entertainment, and I like the fact that they have taken a lot of pains to include the historical background in all of these different scenarios, and I think that's important as well. So overall, I'm going to give this 2 thumbs up. As far as gameplay is concerned, I really enjoyed the game. I think that this is a good foundational entry-level game for someone who is looking to dive further into the colonial era of war games. Now, there is an expansion for that. I've got it right here, called the French and Indian War. We'll be hitting this one in another video, so keep your eye open for that. But for now, this has been the American Revolution. Hold the line. See you on the flip side, folks.